The diner was unusually quiet for a Friday night. The hum of the neon sign outside and the faint clatter of dishes filled the silence. At a corner booth sat Emily, a 19-year-old girl with a gentle smile and trembling hands. Born with cerebral palsy, she'd learned long ago how to shrug off stares. But that night, the whispers weren't whispers. They were loud enough for her to hear. A group of 3 young men at the next table leaned in, smirking. One of them nudged another, muttering something cruel. Emily tried to focus on her milkshake, but then it happened. One of the bullies got up, strutted past her table, and with a mocking laugh, slapped her across the shoulder as if she were a joke. The diner went dead silent. Forks froze mid-air. No one moved. Emily's eyes filled with tears, but she held her chin high. She refused to let them see her break. The bullies laughed, tossed a few dollar bills on their table, and left. For an hour, the place stayed heavy with shame. Nobody spoke of what happened. Nobody comforted her. Emily sat alone, staring out the window, wondering if kindness had left the world. Then the bell over the diner door jingled. The sound of leather boots and low voices filled the room. 6 bikers walked in, broad-shouldered, tattooed, their jackets heavy with patches. Heads turned. People stiffened. The air carried the weight of unspoken fear. These were not men you ignored. They slid into a booth, ordered coffee, and scanned the room. That's when the biggest of them noticed Emily, her tear-stained face reflected in the window. He leaned toward the waitress. What happened to her? The waitress hesitated. Then, with a shaky voice, she told them everything. The leader's jaw tightened. Without another word, he stood, walked over to Emily's booth, and crouched beside her. His voice was unexpectedly soft. "Sweetheart, I'm sorry nobody stood up for you, but you're not alone anymore." Emily blinked, unsure how to respond. The others rose, joining him. One slid into the seat across from her. Another set a fresh plate of pie on the table. The leader placed a leather-clad hand gently over hers. "We're stronger than anyone in this place. You know that? It takes guts to sit here, head held high after what they did." Tears welled again, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from relief. For the first time that night, she felt safe. Then, in a twist that stunned everyone, the bikers didn't just offer comfort, they acted. One of them left the diner, came back with a bouquet of daisies from the corner shop, and placed them in front of her. Another pulled off his leather vest, heavy with patches, and draped it over her shoulders like a shield. "You're one of us now," he said. "Family protects family." The entire diner watched in silence, many ashamed they hadn't defended her. An elderly couple in the corner clapped quietly. A father at another booth nudged his son, whispering, "That's what real strength looks like." Emily, overwhelmed, whispered back, "A thank you. No one's ever done this for." The leader smiled. "Remember this, Emily. Cruelty is loud, but kindness, when it shows up, changes everything." By the time the bikers left, the diner felt different. The air wasn't heavy anymore. It was alive, buzzing with something brighter. Strangers who had sat frozen in silence now approached Emily, offering words of kindness, slipping her napkins to dry her tears, even paying for her meal. That night, Emily didn't walk out of the diner alone. She walked out with flowers in her hands, a biker's vest on her shoulders, and a heart lighter than it had been in years. The bullies had tried to humiliate her. Instead, they had awakened something far greater. The courage of strangers, the warmth of unexpected protectors, and a reminder to everyone watching that kindness is never weakness. And as the neon sign buzzed over the door, one truth lingered in the air. Sometimes the roughest hands carry the gentlest hearts. The ride home that night felt different for Emily. She clutched the vest close, its weight both strange and comforting. The smell of leather and faint engine oil clung to it, but it wasn't the fabric she held onto. It was the feeling behind it. She kept replaying their words. A family protects family. At the diner, people had finally started talking again. A man she had never met had walked over, apologized, and said, "I should have stood up earlier. I'm sorry." Others nodded in agreement. But Emily wasn't angry at them anymore. Fear can silence even good people, she knew. Still, it took the bikers' arrival to wake everyone up. Later that night, she sat on her bed, the flowers resting on her nightstand. For once, instead of thinking about what she lacked, she thought about what she had. Resilience, dignity, and now, unexpectedly, a family that had claimed her. The next morning, a rumble echoed down her street. She peeked through the curtains and froze. Motorcycles, 6 of them. They parked neatly in a row outside her small house. Neighbors peeked through blinds and fences, whispering nervously. Emily's heart pounded as she opened the door. The leader removed his sunglasses, revealing kind eyes. "Hey, morning, kiddo," he said with a half smile. "I thought we'd check in." Emily laughed nervously. You didn't have to come here. It looks out for family," he said simply. "Besides, we figured maybe you could use a ride today." She hesitated, then glanced back at the four walls that had so often felt like a cage. Something inside her said yes. Moments later, she was seated on the back of a gleaming black Harley, gripping the leader's vest as the engines roared to life. For the first time in her life, Emily felt free. The wind tangled her hair, the sun warmed her face, and the stares of strangers on the sidewalks didn't bother her. She wasn't the disabled girl people whispered about anymore. She was part of something bigger, something stronger. They rode for an hour, before stopping at a roadside diner. This one was different. When they walked in, the staff greeted the bikers by name. The leader guided Emily to a booth and ordered her favorite, pancakes with extra syrup. She blinked in surprise. "How did you know?" He chuckled. "We asked around last night." She laughed for real this time, the sound surprising even herself. For years, she'd believed she was invisible. But now, she was being seen. As they ate, one of the bikers leaned in and said, "You know, Em, strength isn't about muscle or fists. It's about refusing to let this world harden your heart. You showed us that last night." Her throat tightened. Nobody had ever spoken to her like that before. The weeks that followed became a turning point. The bikers kept visiting, sometimes bringing her along for short rides, sometimes just dropping by to share stories. They introduced her to their families, treated her like a sister, a daughter, a friend. Slowly, Emily's confidence bloomed. She began volunteering at a community center, sharing her story with teens who struggled with their own battles. One night, months later, she stood before a small crowd at the center, her hands trembling, not from her condition, but from nerves. The biker sat in the back, arms crossed, watching proudly. "I used to believe I was weak," Emily said, her voice soft but steady. But weakness isn't being different. Weakness is standing by when someone else is hurting." The night those bikers walked into that diner, I realized something important. Kindness is strength. And when we choose to be kind, we can change everything, for ourselves and for others. The room erupted in applause. Emily smiled, tears shining in her eyes. Later, as the bikers walked her home, the leader put a hand on her shoulder. "I told you, sweetheart, family protects family. But you're the one who reminded us why we wear these vests in the first place." Emily looked up at the night sky. The stars scattered like promises, and whispered to herself, "I'm not invisible anymore." And from that moment on, she never was.